we're going to be going into the main theme for our national IGF today, which is digital inclusion and access for Resilient Gambia. This session, my humble self, Poncelet, will be moderating this session. We are going to be having on this session panelists from the Ministry of Information, Communication and Infrastructure, who are ably represented by the Deputy Director for ICT, Mr. Loum. We also have the Director of ICT for the Public Utility and Regulatory Authority, Mr. Jatta. We shall be having the CEO and founder of Fatu Network, Fatu Camara, joining us remotely from the US for this session as a media personnel to look at digital inclusion. So we have apologies from the World Bank, who representatives who are able to be here, and apologies from the UNDP, the one project. What we're going to do with our participation as we go into this session, I'll wait for our rapporteurs to get ready. I will also so we're going to be taking questions at the end of this session. We're going to be taking questions immediately after this session. We're going to have accessibility and cost. That's very important. In the second session, I will be moderated by my colleague Camara. Immediately after that session, we go into the lunch break, the last session for the day. Please again, I advise those people on remote participation. Please mute your mics. This is the first, so that the audio will be clear for those attending remotely. I'll give 5 minutes for us to start, and I hope all our people that went for breakfast return this coffee break. We still have some people not here. Okay, I think with not much ado, we go ahead and start the session. To my 3 panelists here, I will introduce them again. We have joining us remotely from the US, Fatu Camara, CEO and founder of Fatu Network. We also have Mr. Jatta, Director of ICT at the Public Utility and Regulatory Authority. And we have Loum, Deputy Director of ICT at the Ministry of Information, Communication and Infrastructure. So this is a very interesting, this means digital inclusion and access for a resilient Gambia. And we should look at what has happened since March 2020, since the pandemic started. We have had the 3rd wave now hitting us. It has now, as our Honorable Minister Ibrahim Silla said, it's no more a luxury. Internet access is now a necessity. But the reality of the facts in our society in the Gambia today, we have a lot of people that are digitally excluded in the country, especially those that live outside the Greater Banjul area, outside the West Coast region. We have people in Upper River region, we have people in Lower River region. And most of them depend on connectivity for some certain things. We saw ITAB, the Information Technology Association of the Gambia, with the Youth Empowerment Project. They have tried to support small and medium enterprises, but so that they'll get more online, and that is important for connectivity, to be able to not only to access it, but for them to be for them to be included, they have to have it at the last mark. So I would like to start with Madam Fatu Camara joining us remotely on her thoughts as a media personality, as someone with the highest number of followership on our network, Fatu network. I don't know what they have done in terms of demographics, how many people within our network join from rural Gambia, and what does she see as a way forward as a media personnel to get more people digitally included. Pastor Camara, over to you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I am happy to join you all. It's 8:22 in the morning in Florida. I was thinking that I was going to be late, but I had to wake up early to be able to make it. And because this session is very important, especially for people like us who work in the media and online. I know when I started my Fatu network in the Gambia, a lot of people ask why I don't want to have a television station. And what I tell them is online media, we have exactly all the equipment that TV stations have. But the reason why I decided to keep Fatu network online is because that is the future. Television, I keep telling people, is going to die. And it would at some point be only on demand, where people would only use their TV sets to watch Netflix or to go online on YouTube and on Facebook to watch programs on there. So the internet is very important for us, and also getting everybody included. Because if you look at what we have at the Fatu network, like you said, we have the highest number of following. The Fatu network has been on for since in actually that Facebook page has been on since 2009 when we started with the Fatu show and all the way down. So we have over almost 500,000 people, and these are the number that are like subscribed to us. But every 3 weeks we reach at least 2 million, 3 million people, depending on what we have. And these are people who go in and out and engage with our post. But you can see that out of this number is only the number of people that engage our post when it comes to women is only 24%. And this is because not a lot of women have access to the internet. When it comes to men, we have about 76% of men engaging our post all the time. And when it comes to our followers as well, you can see that only 26% are women and 74% are men. So until now, you can see that the gap is still there, which is the gender gap in internet access, which shows us that we have more women, more men using the internet than more women. So we were looking at how this was going to be, how we're going to fix this. And for forums like this, it's important to discuss these issues because we have all the stakeholders present there. And we're thinking about increasing affordability. Because most of the time, people will tell us that they want to watch our programs, the entire news review, but because of data is expensive, they're not able to stay all through. So it is important if we can look into this, and also empowering users, which is also very important to improve the relevance of online content as well. We can see that when news breaks now, before people go on television, they're always online. Like I said, that's the future. Myself, I have the apps of all the main news sites, from BBC to CNN to Deutsche Welle. Anytime news breaks, I have it on my phone. I don't have to watch television. So it is important to improve the relevance of online content, which way we can also have more people coming. Internet infrastructure development. This is also a very important thing if we want to talk about digital inclusion and including everyone, and also to address, like I said, the gender gap in internet access. Because statistics on internet usage carried out in 2016, I think, showed that there are 250 million fewer women online than men. And this has shown, like I just said to you on the statistics of Fatu Network, looking at the number of people that we engaged. And the majority of these women live in Africa and the Arab states. So you can see that we don't have a lot of women accessing the internet in Gambia. It says Africa and Gambia as well, and the Arab states. So this means, yes. So this means that in order to overcome the digital divide, a special focus has to be placed on women to bring their usage closer or at least at par to that of men. A lot of women are online, and from 35 to 44 years, women, we have about 58.9% on Fatu network, and men are 41.1%. That is from 34 to 44, and then 25 to 34. That means we have a lot of women on, but they usually do not stay through all the programs in terms of engaging what we are putting online and stuff. So now that the government has, as the president has signed the Access to Information Bill, which is very, very important. But for people to be able to access all this information, they should be able to be online. So once all of that is fixed, then we will see people getting more interested in information that they can access, because it's really easy accessing information on the internet once you have a cell phone. So I guess that is what it is. But then the good news here is that I read online that according to the World Bank and the UN Broadband Commission report, it is estimated that a digital divide by 2030 in Africa would be about 100 billion, and they're looking into doing this. So hopefully, once all of this is done, it will be good, because it's very important for everyone to be included in the internet. If you look at the story of Kabilam, a Senegalese who lost his job at the factory and is online now, and he has the second highest followers on TikTok. And right now he is worth $2.5 million. So this is all due to access to the internet. So I think it is important, like I said, that we put some of these points into consideration, which is affordability and also giving access more to actually cover, to address the gender gap in the internet access as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fatu. I mean, that was a very good presentation, and it's good to know how you are able to analyze and do some analysis on your demographics. 24% of your viewership are women, so it still says a lot. Whereby, if we look at the current voters registration, we have more women registering than men. So we need to get more of our women to be digitally included. I will now go over to Nicholas Jatta, from the Director of ICT at the Public Utility and Regulatory Authority. And we have PURA having what we call a universal access plan, whereby connectivity should be open. So I will see now what is PURA trying to do in terms of digital inclusion, in terms of this universal access. Is it something that is going to be a reality? Our minister talked about in the NDP, whereby going digital is a very key component of the government. So what is PURA in terms of universal access doing to attain digital inclusion?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ponce. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this very important forum. When we talk of digital inclusion, especially for internet, we have to think broadband. And when you think broadband, you have to actually segment the whole ecosystem. You need to ensure that the international bandwidth is okay and is reliable and resilient. You need to make sure that there is a national fiber backbone infrastructure in place, and you need to ensure that there is a national fiber to be able to provide last mile connectivity to the general populace. Because most of the things that we need or are required for internet are in the diaspora, they're outside, they're external. So without having the entire ecosystem reliable or available, then it defeats the whole purpose. As far as PURA is concerned, we actually had to break these items down and have solutions in place. Obviously, we do work with key stakeholders, especially the Ministry of Information and Communication and donor partners like the World Bank, Islamic Development Bank, you name them. Prior to 2012, the total bandwidth, international bandwidth available in the country was less than 1 gig. It was 644 megabytes to be precise. But in 2012, through the assistance of the World Bank, we were able to increase, and not only increase, we are able to make available an international fiber backbone to the tune of 25 million US dollars, and it was able to provide a bandwidth capacity of 10 gigs to the country. Today, as we speak, that bandwidth has increased from 10 gigs to 100 gigs. So which means even if the entire country is on board, we may not have challenges. And the equipment is scalable, it's resilient, we can increase the bandwidth depending on our needs and in consultation with other stakeholders of the ACE consortium. And talking about reliability, what happens if that link fails? Which means the entire country is isolated and it defeats the whole purpose of digital inclusion. It excludes the whole, and it defeats the whole purpose as far as internet inclusiveness is concerned. That is why we actually prevail on the operators to ensure that they have a backup, so that there at no point in time will we be isolated as a country. We have a backup to Senegal through multiple links. One of the links has not been completed to KLIU. Thereby, if one side of the redundant link is faulty, we will not exclude it. Talking about the national backbone, we have a national backbone crisscrossing the entire country, whereby it is hooked onto the operators' networks so that they can be able to backhaul traffic regardless of where you are, whether you're in the greater Bandu area or in the rural areas, your traffic can be seamlessly backhauled and sent to the World Wide Web. Now, last mile connectivity, that's the key, because that is what concerns us. As far as we are concerned, here is your mobile phone, or you at home, you want to be able to access the internet and be able to provide services seamlessly. It's interesting to note that not long ago, even at PURA, or at the Ministry of Communication, or at the Ministry of Finance, when we want to discuss and have very important topics to deliberate on with our external partners like the World Bank, we always have to schedule an appointment at the World Bank office to do video conference. Today, everyone can be able to do video conferencing at the comfort of your own house, thanks to the infrastructure that we have put in place, both at the national level and at the international level. So this is where we are today. Now, last mile connectivity, if you are living, for example, in Bakau, where the national backbone broadband network is not available, what happens? And you want to be connected to a fixed line, or you want to be connected to a fiber, what happens? This is the strategy that we are taking, we are working on to ensure that through partnership, public-private partnership, they will extend the various gadgets as a fiber infrastructure, so that from people's home, you have a choice. Because as we speak, there are fixed line broadband wireless solutions. There are also wireless broadband mobile solutions. But also some people, as part of the ecosystem, want to be provided a dedicated bandwidth. And that can only be done through fiber networks or through the fixed line ADSL services. So that is what we're working on to actually have that in place. Now, the local networks, as far as we are concerned, we have facilitated the licensing and also made the environment conducive for the entire, for the players, that's the Cantels, the AfroCells, the Unique Solutions, and all other players to have confidence and invest in the sector. It was just not long ago, that is in 2008, that we had 3G, and it was one of the first in the submarine. Now, since then, the demand for broadband services has been increasing exponentially, and not only in the rural Gambia, in the urban areas, but even in the remote parts of the country. Because people in the remote parts of the country need service. Most of their relatives, most of their family members are in the diaspora, and they need to touch base with their friends and family members. Now we have 2G available countrywide, we have 3G available countrywide, and we have 4G available in the urban areas and to a limited extent in the urban areas. So this is what we are working on. Because nowadays, when people complain of internet problems, they don't talk about voice. Everyone needs to be connected digitally. Everyone needs to be online. Everyone needs to be and behave as it is in the greater area. This is what we are doing. And 4G, again, we are one of the first countries in the sub-region, even our neighbors. We were, first, when they deployed, it was just one side, but when we deployed, we went full blown. So I'm very, very happy to note that the Gambia is always a step ahead as far as technology is concerned, as far as the provision of broadband services are concerned. Now, the whole world is talking about 5G. Where are we as far as 5G is concerned? As I said, the investors, these technologies are not cheap. They don't come cheap. They need a huge capital investment. And for the public sector, they want to ensure, they want to know whether if they invest, the regulator will behave and have consistent policies aligned to their investment. And that's what we have provided, and that's why they are confident. As we speak, two public operators have actually applied for us to provide them with frequencies so that they can be able to roll out 5G services in the country. And from the survey we did, from the research we did in Africa, it's only South Africa that has deployed, and Kenya, Nigeria are also, doing trials. So had it not been for the pandemic, we would have been there. But hopefully, we are very hopeful that by the end of the year, at least we will have a 4G network infrastructure in place to provide broadband services. Obviously, the question will arise. What happens? Is it going to be only in the Greater Banjul area, that's in the urban area, and not in the provinces? As a regulator, we encourage all operators, all players to invest in the rural areas so that they can be inclusive as far as digital inclusiveness is concerned. So what we do in most cases is when we are giving approval for these technologies to be rolled out, one of the conditions would be that at least they have to make those services available in the rural areas so that at least they would be able to enjoy and be included in the digital ecosystem. So this is where we are. Do we have gaps? Certainly, we do have gaps. The penetration rate of mobile network availability is one of the highest in Africa. We are about 96%. But then again, it's not everywhere that data is available. It's not everywhere that data is available. We currently do not have the tools. We do have rudimentary tools to be able to assess the accessibility. So if we are telling scientifically, we will only be able to show the rudimentary needs. That's why by the end of the year, hopefully, through the support of the World Bank, we will be able to have a system in place which measures signal level availability of not only 2G, but 3G and 4G as well. And hopefully, if 5G is rolled out, it will also be able to make it available. It will be able to have network mapping of all the networks, which will be published for everyone to see. And it will also be able to identify the gaps. Where are the gaps for 2G, for 3G, for 4G, and so on and so forth. I'm very, very sure that people will not be interested to know the coverage maps of 2G, because 2G, the speeds are limited. Even though they can be able to provide internet connectivity, they have limitations. So this is where we are. Hopefully, by the end of the year, it's going to be a game changer for the country. And once you are able to identify the gaps, then you can be able to take regulatory actions to ensure that those gaps are filled. There are various options. You can work with the operators to fill those gaps. You can be able, having mapped all these things, you can be able to write project proposals and send them to donor partners, because nowadays they know fully well that yes, digital inclusiveness, digitalizing the economy is key, and they don't want a digital divide between the urban and rural areas. So it will be a very, very easy buy to donor partners. We can also have other means, punitive means, by actually saying to the operators, you know what, you need to work in this place, because the network that we have in place will not be able to be able to identify the gaps, but it will actually tie it to the population. That's an easy sell, because if you tell someone to go in an area where the population is, let's say, 100 people, it's not an easy sell. But if you are able to have all these things scientifically and send it to the operators, then it will be an easy sell for them to invest. So really, we are very, very encouraged that come the turn of the year, which is just about 4 months away, come 2022, the Gambia would stand in a very, very good footing to actually leapfrog and bridge so many challenges that we are currently having. Obviously, broadband, you cannot talk about broadband without frequencies, because the unique solutions and all the players, any technology that they want to deploy without frequencies, which we call spectrum, they cannot be able. If you deny them that resource, they cannot deploy any technology. 3G, they need technology from from us. So we have to be there. We have to be ready to not only strategize our spectrum resources to cater for the current, but we need to make sure that investors, when they come, they should be able to see our short-term, our immediate short-term and long-term plans for this very, very important resource. That is why currently we have engaged a consultant who is working with us, so that he will look at the whole framework and strategize and make sure that everything is in place in the country to ensure that as a regulator we don't start with competition, but actually have the thing in place to encourage investment in the sector. And once you do this, the frequencies will be identified. There are some frequencies which we call TV white space for the internet service providers and for 5G and for the video. And we should not limit as a country ourselves to 5G, even 6G. Let everything be there so that anyone that comes and says, I want to invest in this technology, we tell him, yes, it's available, here it is. And there we are. Before concluding, as a regulator, when we talk of broadband services, we should not only talk of the ICT infrastructure. We need to also think electricity. Because if you don't have electricity available in your homes, challenges will occur. I remember last year, in the 6th Internet Governance Forum, it was done online. I was supposed to be a panelist, but at that time I was on leave and I was at home. And when the time came for me to join, I was there and all ready with my agents and so on and so forth. all of a sudden, electricity went off for 3 hours, and there was nothing I could do. So which means I had to be isolated. So we have to make sure that electricity is available to actually complement and facilitate our digitalization process. So in a nutshell, this is where we are. We need to ensure that all the tools are available. We should not limit ourselves to one technology. That is why we even currently looking at other options, such as virtually small amateur channels, which is the VSATs and all these other things, mixture of these things, so that customers can have a choice. Even if they are in rural areas and they are not on the national fiber infrastructure, or they are far away from the service provider, they have options of being provided with internet facilities to be able to communicate nationally and internationally. So these are some of the things that we have in place. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening, and I await your comments and interventions, and we hope we'll be able to have solutions to transform the country and ensure inclusivity. My colleague later on will actually be talking about price, because that is key. Having all these things in place, if people in the rural areas are unable or to afford to use these services as they need, then it will defeat the whole purpose. But together, we can be able to find solutions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a very impressive presentation. I think it answered some of the things Dr. Camara wanted to hear. So in 4 months' time, we shall be waiting to see whether those gaps are bridged. For me, digital inclusion is something I'm very passionate about, because I feel that we cannot get and build a digital economy if people are still digitally excluded in this day and time. There's a whole section on accessibility and cost. So that just shows you well, and my colleague Khadija Jawara will be chairing that session, moderating that section after this. So I'll move over to Loum, the Deputy Director of ICT at the Ministry of Information, Communication and Infrastructure. Policies is what guides us. So the government has to have policies through the line ministry. The Ministry of Information, Communication and Infrastructure have been doing a lot of things. We all know we have suffered outages this year in terms of the whole country being cut off for 5 hours because we have only one submarine cable coming into the country. The minister talked about working on getting another submarine cable to complement what we have in his opening remark. So in terms of policy, to make people more digitally included, what policies have been put in place at the ministry to complement what Mr. Nicholas Jatta from the Regulation Authority has said? Over to you, Mr. Lang.
Thank you very much, Ponce. And good morning to you, my fellow panelists, the Jatta, and to the audience here present and those online. Really, I'm honored to be here to take part in this discussion on behalf of the Director of ICT, Kenya, who was supposed to be here, but unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond his control, he assigned me to step in. I think the discussion is very interesting, and on the part of MoICI, which is the government entity responsible for the ICT sector, what I would say first of all is that access. Means the whole world to us, because if you look at our agenda that is trying to digitize the nation, we're talking about digital economy, and we're talking about education, e-health, e-agriculture, and all of these policies. One thing that stands out is that if this technology or if these issues are not accessible, then let's forget about all the policies that we're doing. So access but not only access in terms of affordability, as well as stability that you mentioned. It is very important. So therefore, the ministry has been working on numerous strategies and policies to make sure that the ICT sector is actually vibrant. One of the things that we can be proud of is that the ministry has worked with PURA to liberalize the sector, both voice and data, unlike before. And we did this because we want this to be able to support, policies, and also increase competition among the providers of the services, therefore translating into, affordability as well as, accessibility. And this will also further enhance socio-economic development as well as inclusion in that regard. So we know that right now, no economy can function without the proper or efficient functioning of an ICT infrastructure at the level of the ministry. And not only communication infrastructure, like I said, but also affordable and accessible. So using this approach, this will allow communities, individuals, those that are, underprivileged people, as well as those with disabilities, should be able to access the internet and use it for, different purposes, like in terms of getting healthcare, in terms of entertainment, conducting financial transactions, and so on and so forth. So, and also allow them to participate equally into the running of the country as well as benefit of those, enjoy the benefits of the internet. So that's why I said access means the whole world. So coming back to your question and the discussion, we want to discuss about the coverage and capacity of the country, Mr. Jatta has dealt in that. I will not go much in detail, but just to tell you that capacity is not the problem. We have like Mr. Jatta said, we have over 600 gigabits of internet connection available to us. But look at how much we are using in that capacity. It's barely less than 30% of that. And still now we are crying about access and also affordability. So the remaining bandwidth is sitting there. So as a policy department, we have come up with different strategies. And one of which is the policy statement 2018-2028, which is anchored on 8 pillars that include broadband strategy. And in this broadband strategy, it is highlighted that accessibility is one of its main priorities and also affordability. So we've come up also with a lot of other policies that you mentioned in the beginning, such as the UAS, Universal Access Fund. Now, we've been talking about liberalization, and we need to liberalize the sector. We need to allow competition to happen. Now, but when competition happens, when you liberalize the sector, you allow the players to decide in terms of investing in a particular location. The government or PURA cannot dictate that. And we all know ISPs or JSM companies, they will look at places where they know their return on investment will yield something. Because you will not go and erect an infrastructure, like Mr. Jatta said, where you are targeting few number of people. So the issue is the capacity is here, but why is the capacity not going to the end users? Why are they not feeling it? And that really has to do with the economic of scale also. One of the reasons. So that being the reason, at the ministry we came up with the UAS policy, which is the Universal Access Policy, and this policy we've been talking about it for a while, but thank God now it is available and it has been endorsed by cabinet. This will make sure that broadband services are subsidized or infrastructures are implemented at in places where the GSM companies would not find it lucrative to actually put in an infrastructure. So it is approved at the level of cabinet. Now the ministry is working with PURA to be able to determine the revenue sourcing of this important policy, so that in certain areas where ISPs will not erect an antenna because they think they don't have the money or there is no economic benefit for them, the UAS fund could actually chip in and then provide that facility. So that is another policy that we are working on. Now, if we look at capacity also, we mentioned that we have the national backbone, which goes around the country, both the both north bank and south bank of the country. So now there's fiber everywhere in the country, and also with the coming of the NBN project, And we have about 4 GSM companies and then one fixed line operator. Now, in 2014, this record were based in 2014. We had about 5 ISPs and about 380,000 internet users around that time. Now, I just want to compare that with the statistics now. There are about 580,000 internet users as of January 2021, and the number of internet users between 2020 and 2021 has increased to 108,000. That is about 23%. Also, right now we have about 7 ISPs, and then we're expecting more to come in the next couple of months. Okay. Also, social media users, they have increased from 300,000 around last year to about 430,000. That is about 16% increment, right? But still, all these things doesn't necessarily mean that we are there. We have a long way to go because looking at the population of the Gambia now, you're talking about 2 million people or so, and you see that only 1/3 of the population is still accessing the internet. And one of the main reasons we all know is actually we talk about is affordability, right? But when we talk about affordability, it's not only affordability. Well, that is the primary reason, but also accessibility. But the most important one, I also think, at our state, at the state we are in now, is literacy, digital literacy. Because people will benefit a lot using the internet if they know the benefits of the internet, if they know how they should use the internet to benefit their lives in terms of entertainment, in terms of getting health, in terms of getting education, and so on and so forth. So there's still a lot of gap in terms of digital literacy. So at the level of the ministry, we are developing a feasibility study together with the Africa Development Bank that will try to establish or create a digital literacy policy, a national digital literacy policy and skills policy that will actually assist the country in terms of creating more digital literacy programs, and that will help in terms of increasing digital skills. And this will be rolled out to different stakeholders, including the youth, women, and the underprivileged people, as well as those with disabilities, and so on and so forth. So part of it also, in terms of what we're doing in terms of access, we're doing also hubs, because we know because most of the people want to have access to the internet and so on, maybe they cannot have it from their house, so especially young people. So the idea of creating a hub will actually bring in young people together in one space, give them the resources that they want, and allow them to collaborate and create. We have seen that, started now maybe with the startup incubator, and maybe also have the hub. Maybe some of those services you need to pay or things like that, and still, some of it may not be available to some part of the people depending on their location. So at MoICI, we are working with UTG to establish a hub. The feasibility study just started, and UTG is leading in that. So the aim is to have that hub located in UTG that will be open to every young person to come use the resources, collaborate, and then help to create or use the internet to better themselves. But we're not stopping at UTG. We've also identified 5 regional areas. So this hub will be going to these regional headquarters in the country, and they will have all the resources in those centers, including internet and other facilities to support them, all geared towards improving access. So under the ICT4D master plan, there is a specific objective and strategy talking about promoting advanced broadband ICT infrastructure development, and also with the establishment of the UAS to promote and creation of information society, promote social economic growth, and access to affordable and reliable information, including to ensure inclusion and digital participation of everyone. So this UAS actually, which I mentioned before, is based on key principles, including the prioritization of the sector, affordability, availability, accessibility, and of course awareness together with digital culture and society. There are other number of interventions whose primary objective is not only for access, but also overall impact will serve to increase universal access as well as service. But this is not only limited to promotion of competition and increase the range of innovative service available to users, and of course, improving the regulatory mechanism in the sector. And to that end, we know one of the challenges we have as a sector is in terms of regulation. We need more support in that aspect. So therefore, and also the legal mechanism that we have. The act we are using right now is 2009 IC Act. So right now we are doing a review of the 2009 Act to strengthen the legal and regulatory framework in the country. Now, also when it comes to capacity, we say it's there. But why is this capacity not translating, not getting to the users? One of the problems is the last mile coverage. You have fiber all around the country, but users are not getting it into their house. So the last mile also is very important to the ministry. So we have some initiatives that we are embarking on. One of them is the e-power project, and the idea of the e-power project is to offer quadruple play services. For example, using the traditional electric line and then supply internet fiber to homes, both in the rural and urban center. So the discussion on that at the level of the ministry is high. Also, we have a digital addressing system, that is running now. We have piloted that in Banjul, and all the properties in Banjul now they have digital addresses using Google Plus codes. This is all geared towards inclusion as well as access. And what we think is if this project is done, it can offer a lot of benefit to, it can also boost the e-commerce industry in the country where properties will be located. It will help also the fire and ambulance services, just to name but a few. So my minister mentioned it in the beginning. You cannot provide internet in this generation if it's not stable. Like you mentioned, last year we had a blackout because we had only one major submarine cable, that is GSP cable. So what is the ministry doing right now? Like the minister said, we are working on having a second landing station, and the discussions are really high. We have a very important subcommittee under the office of the president that is working on this, and they have identified different ways we can get this, and even develop the costing model for this second landing station. So we are very hopeful that we will get it very, very soon. And another negotiation that is going on is the Camara cable under the ECOWAS to see how we can have another backbone. So a country like Senegal, for example, has up to about 4 backbones. So you understand that in this age, no country should experience blackout because internet is part of our life. Like I said, some people's life depend on the internet, and so on. So it's very important. So apart from that, we have other strategies like the strategy for youth and women development, and this strategy is aimed at to outline measures for the enhancement of youth and women development and empowerment through use of ICT. Also, we have the human capital development strategy and policy that is centered on ensuring access to relevant and quality education for all. The purpose is to build and help organizations optimize their resources for efficient and effective mission achieved by using ICTs. E-governance strategy, the whole idea of e-governance is inclusion, to allow citizens to partake in the running of their country, also access services. So all geared towards accessibility and inclusion. Basically, these are some of the strategies and policies that we are working on to actually further inclusion and digital access. Like I said, the main question now should be that we have the capacity, we have the backbone, and so why is this not translating now to cheaper internet access for everybody in this country? So I think the other session that is talking about accessibility and cost probably these are the areas that they will deal with. But at the level of the ministry, like I said, this really means a lot to us, and we are working with PURA in terms of making sure that there is reliable, accessible, and affordable internet for everybody here. So I would like to stop here, and if you may have any questions, we will be happy to take them and bring up the discussion later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Loum, Deputy Director of ICT at the Ministry of Information and Communication and Infrastructure. So we're going to have question and answer sessions now. So what we're going to do, and this is the format is going to follow throughout these 2 days effects to the drafting of the communique. Thank you, Dr. Camara, Fatu Network. Thank you, Nicholas Jatta, and thank you, Loum. They're going to give, they'll have 1 minute for closing remarks, so we're going into the question and answer. We'll give first preference will be to those who are online, since it's a hybrid format. So let us give first preference to our brothers and sisters who are joining us remotely. As you know, we are our team, Digital Inclusion and Access to Resilient Gambia. Um, Last year we were virtual. This year we have managed to come um, to do a hybrid session. And as you can see, even from the seating arrangement, everything has been in place in the South Caraba Jawara Conference Center. So I will allow our online participants just introduce yourself. So I'll take 2 questions online, then 2 questions offline. So 2 questions from those people, on site. So you have Minera to Joe with the mic. When you want to ask a question, you just move to the podium there, and Minera will meet you with the mic there, and you introduce your name and ask us. So the first 2 questions is for those online. So over to you. Introduce yourself and where you're talking from. Thank you.
No hands.
We have no hands online, or is there anybody that wants to ask a question online? Please raise your hand.
Yes, Mr. Ponce, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Go out, introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Ismaila Jawara from the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance. My question goes to the MoICI representative here. Back in 2014, 2015, MoICI sponsored computer labs across the country through the Connect School, Connect Community project. And these computer labs were given, access to internet for a specific period of time. Around a year ago, I went on a national tour, through a project to check on the state of these labs. Many of those schools, now lost internet access after a few months of setting up the lab. In fact, many of those computer labs were without system admins to maintain the lab. So as far as we're talking about access and sustainability, I want to ask, what is the ministry doing to maintain and support, or I would say, sustain those labs as far as you're concerned now? Because they are good labs, you have good computers there, but, most of them are actually out of service now. So what is MoICI doing to sustain those computer labs across the country? Thank you.
Okay, Minerato, the answer question, just walk up to the stand there and you'll be met with the mic. Yeah. Or just meet them with the mic. Meet them with the mic, I think it's, yes, just go there. Yeah. Someone will meet you with the mic. I think it's much better. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. My name is Bubakar Sambo. I am representing the Gambia College here. From the second presenter, when he mentioned that with the availability of internet, when there is no electricity also, it's the same as no internet. And that is very important. Even in this hall here, we experience about twice. When we are on session, electricity will just go off and everything will just be off. I don't know what the MoICI and PURA are doing with NOEC. I heard them talking about how they, Mr. Loum, how they are trying to make the best use of NOEC in terms of internet productivity. But the status about electricity is really not stable. And if that is not stable, and also electricity also not accessible in almost a lot of parts of the Gambia. So what is MoICI as well as PURA doing to help work with NOEC to make sure there is stable, not only electricity available, but the stability of electricity also is another thing. Because if electricity is going on and off, it's so much disruptive when sessions are going on. In fact, I've seen experience with some online classes where people are like, when in this COVID period, a lot of students at universities and also in the college are using online to have session or interaction with their lecturers. But so many times these sessions being cancelled either because there is very weak internet or there is no electricity. The amount of PURA shared this experience here with all this preparedness for an online session, only for it to be cancelled because electricity had to go off for about 3 hours. So these two are really connected. What are we doing as a nation from the ministry and from PURA to make sure knowledge is also stable? Thank you.
Okay, the next question, please. There's someone there. There's someone there. And then I'll allow the panelists to answer the questions, then we take one more round and like 1 minute round up from the panelists as we have to go into the next session.
Morning, everyone. I am Boy for the representing for GPF, really police force.
Sorry?
What?
Police force.
Okay, Gambia Police Force. Good to see the police here.
Okay. My question here is, what is the Ministry of Information and Technology for is strategizing that of the terminal antennas? Because you have a lot of terminal antennas for private individual or private internet providers. And according to research, they have some radiological effects on human health and that of environment. So what is Gamtel or the government or the PURA being on to at least establish some government infrastructures to at least stabilize that situation? And my second question is, what could the Ministry of Information and Technology do with the collaboration of the government and PURA to at least expedite that situation? Because when you look at the internet governance, it's double A's and S, which is affordability, accessibility, and sustainability. Without regularizing some of the issues of internet and building such infrastructures, the rural areas will be the less talk of the matter. Thank you.
Very much. Okay, over to you, panelists. I think most of the questions were directed at the Ministry of Information and Infrastructure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those important questions. And I think one of the questions was asking about what is MoICI doing in terms of maintaining the computer labs that we provided to schools. And then an assessment was done and noticed that some of the computers are not no longer in use. I think maybe some of the schools, yes, their computer labs might be dilapidated because it's not taken care of. But as far as we know, we provided computer lab centers, not only to schools, but even to the Camara and Fatou centers. And those which are directly under our purview, we are taking good care of them, and then we have people that are stationed there and they offer these resources. In fact, we know people can use it. The only thing they need to do is just write to us and then request it to use those labs, and they can use it. So with schools, it's a different case because when you implement a project with them or when you build the computer lab with them, after you hand them over because we review that they have an IT staff or somebody who technical lab manager to manage the lab and so on and so forth. So I think this is an important point that we will take note. From now on, we will list with the Ministry of Basic and Education, Basic and Secondary Education, and then see how best we can actually go back and support them if they need technical support in terms of reviving those labs in the different schools we provided. But the other centers, they are all active and we have events happening in them. Regarding electricity, I don't know if I can say much about that because that is maybe probably PURA is here, you can take up that question. And of course, when it comes to the antennas too, PURA will take care of that because we are posing the infrastructure sharing and probably some of those things to discuss. For the second question, with that, I missed the second question. I don't know what he was asking about. He made mention that we should work together, PURA and the ministry, but I don't know what really.
Yeah, Nicholas will comment further. So over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much. These are very, very important questions. I think two questions are directed to me, which is one, the electromagnetic field radiations, that's the antennas, which are spread all over the country, and also the availability, accessibility, and stability of the electricity supply. That's NARIC. The good thing is I have in the mix a colleague who actually works in that domain. Me, I work on the ICT sector. So someone will hand over the mic to him so that he can educate his public. Since I have someone who has not got more expertise, I would rather give him the mic to dwell on that. Radiation is concerned. Yes, you are very right that people are concerned. People want to know whether these antennas do cause a health hazard and what is the regulator doing. First of all, we need to know that there is a body which is responsible for that. It's a UN agency called the International Organization for Non-Ionized Radiation. And they work closely with the World Health Organization. They work closely with the International Electrical and Electronic Engineers and a host of all other experts. And they've done thousands and millions of studies over the year. And there is no scientific evidence to link these antennas with health hazards. In fact, before, some of the institutions, like the schools and the hospitals, used to be hesitant if the operators approach them and tell them, we want to install an antenna in your premises. But because of the evidence that there is no linkage, even in the UK and anywhere in the world, now you can see antennas being installed in all these other facilities. But coming home, what are we doing as a country? As I said, we are looking at ways and means. We're looking at, in fact, we have approached agencies, and we are very hopeful that by the year 2022, we'll have a system in place in the country. In fact, we did a test whereby we will be able to drive around and we will map it on a digital map. We'll make a map of all the antennas installed countrywide. We will be doing a test. We will take the parameters and put them online so that from anywhere, be it in the Gambia anywhere, all you need to do is log in on our PURA website, right, and say, I'm staying around Califin. A map will pop up to show the Califin area with all the antennas and readings to show how strong the radiation. So you'll see red, green, and yellow. So I know what will happen is that you'll see green everywhere. But then people would not only listen to us, but if they are able to see the data, then they will have more confidence. So this is where we are. We did a test around the Greater Banjul area, and we went even to the head office of all the operators, the associates, QCell, and the readings. As far as the yield is concerned, is called specific absorption rate, and there is a national threshold. Let's say even from your mobile phones. So there is a threshold of 1.6. Once it reaches there, it's dangerous. But the readings, all the readings we are having, is 0.8, 0.3, 0.2. But then again, we don't want to apply people on this because they will say, oh, you only did it in the GPA. No. That's why we want to wait until we have this in place, hopefully in the year 2022, and we'll be able to provide this information to the customer. Because nowadays people talk of climate change, people talk about health hazards, and even they link 5G to coronavirus, where and there is no scientific evidence as far as this is concerned. But I will hand over the mic to Mr. Matarr, who is an economist who also doubles up and works on the energy sector about what plans we have in place to ensure that NAREC or energy is not only available but stable and accessible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Please, Nicholas, can you hand over the mic to Mr. Touray, the economist from the Utility Authority? You'll be hearing more from him too during the next session.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks to Nicholas for putting the spot with regards to NAREC. We all know the issues we face with NAREC on a daily basis. But definitely, as it relates to energy sector stability and reliability, I think one thing we have to appreciate and harness is over the past maybe 2, 3 years, we've been tracking the number of blackouts, and even though there's still quite a number of blackouts, we've received, we've realized a declining trajectory in the number of blackouts, which of course directly correlates with stability across the system. But I think it is important to note that it cannot just be from a community standpoint. There's a consolidated sort of exercise that is going on, developing an energy sector roadmap, looking at harnessing private sector participation. We've already seen an example of it with the power shift, looking at imports from neighboring countries that really have more stable supply and cheaper sources of supply, and also harnessing renewable energy, which is domestic. So sorry, I don't know where that came from. But there's quite a number of approaches that are currently ongoing, looking at the stability of the power grid. And also, there's also a parallel approach towards integrating the entire power grid across the country. As you know, right now, what you have the GPA ring, and then when you go into the provinces, you also have individual rings. So we're looking at least integrating it, because with an integrated network with the interconnectors that are coming in via the OMBG lines, we're definitely hopeful in the next 3 or 4 years, we will definitely see one, a reduction in the cost of electricity supply, and two, quite a more stable and robust network across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will now take last round of questions. So, yes, Moderator.
Good afternoon. I am Fatu from National Human Commission. My question goes to probably PURA. The director mentioned that the internet bandwidth has increased from 600 to 100 gig, and we saw MB to 100 gig in the past to follow this. Considering that large increment we have in the internet bandwidth, not much of that has been seen in the service usage. What is the effect of that increment when we cannot recognize it in the usage of the services? Somebody made a question here relating to how poor the bandwidth may be in certain areas. I hold online lectures, and I've tried almost apart from the fixed network, I have tried all the wireless networks. And unfortunately, the best of them is a nightmare. So what is the situation related to that increment in proportion to people's benefit from the increment? The second question is, okay, bandwidth may have been increased, but is it not likely that bandwidth has been capitalized by operators, wherein a operator X may have a certain capacity of that bandwidth, yet he or she is unable to deliver services. But the bandwidth is hooked onto that operator because it is his site. He subscribed to it, but he's unable to deliver services appropriate for that bandwidth. What benefit would that have for the country? And then the last question I would want to bring would be probably related to the Ministry of Communication. If internet access is available and is a human right, it's a right for everyone to have access to internet access. So what is the effect of what I call the apartheid system of internet service delivery to the people in the country? If we say the bandwidth is good, internet is accessible, most likely we are talking about the greater value area. The greater percentage of the country, internet access is just maybe in better internet access will be in spots around the country. What would the ministry be doing or whoever it applies to make sure that this apartheid access of internet accessibility across the country is overrun? Thank you.
Thank you. The guy from the National Human Rights Commission, that last question was really loaded. Having an apartheid system, and we shouldn't deceive ourselves. That's the reality on the ground. 48% of our population live in rural or semi-rural areas, and they are grossly affected by being totally digitally excluded or having services, as PURA said, of 2G. So is there any more questions? Okay, one more, and then we let them answer. Okay, you can go, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Yun Saban. I represent Warsaw Program here. I've got two questions. Actually, one to Mr. Nicholas PURA and Mr. Loum of MoICI. My question to Mr. Nicholas, actually, he made a very good presentation around technology, around infrastructure, around basically connectivity. But my main question actually to him would be, do we have actually foresee a possibility of players, especially mobile network players in the market? I ask this question because I see that all the available numbers in the plan have already been allocated. Meaning, for instance, that any new mobile network operator comes in, will be stopped in terms of number in plan. So what was the essence, for instance, of giving all the numbers that are available to existing mobile operators? But there is not any possibility of making sure that there are extra numbers, as we have seen in other countries. You only have one number that if you actually exhaust that number, you just add another number before it, something like that. So unless we have room for expansion or for new entrants. And the other question is actually related again to we have actually minimum standards. We are actually talking about having 5G. You ask me, I will say, do you need a 5G right now? Are you not rushing? Now, the ones that we have, the 2G, the 3G, and all that stuff, they are not even actually up to required standard. Are we actually focusing on just being there first, like you actually said? We are on the best to get 3G, the best, the first to get 3G, the first to get 4G, and now probably on the first to get 5G. But what is the quality of those Gs that we have? Are they really up to the international standard? Are you focusing on getting minimum standards of entry for every product or service? Now, to Mr. Loum, I think somebody did mention here about our biggest problem here is sustainability. You can have all the policies and all that stuff, but if you're not able to follow them and make sure that we actually implement them and sustain whatever project we implement, we'll have a problem. There was a lot of talk of e-government. A lot of projects, a lot of money was spent on e-government. And the whole idea was to make sure that we have an e-government, basically. And one of the key actually outcomes of that e-government was to make sure that all government departments actually have used their email. Now, if you go to a conference or a workshop of this sort, I bet if you go down to the registration, all you see is Gmail accounts. You don't have, it just doesn't make sense for me. For instance, you're dealing with somebody from PURA, I know they are very consistent on that. I see PURA GM, but you go to MoICI, there is or another department, for instance, government department, and all you see is email accounts, and other accounts. So is the e-government actually, because it's part of digital inclusion. Now we cannot talk about digital inclusion if you don't have access, consistent access to regards to government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bat. That was very relevant question. So I will allow Nicholas. I'll take the last question. Nicholas to speak.
Yeah, thank you very much for those questions. The first one was on the effect of the bandwidth increase, whether people do feel it. I think that's a very important question. If I just, Madam Fatu Camara is in the US, we are here, and one effect of its increment is that since she's been online, as far as I'm concerned, we've not seen any jitter. Once he's talking, there's no issue at all. The quality of the teacher is all evident for us to see. A few years ago, even at the UNDP office, they were using VSAT. For us, it was the best because that was the only option available. If we need a conference, that's where we go. And even there'll be jitters, there'll be a breakdown in communication. But today, because of that increase, here we are. Even the WhatsApps, everyone around, when you're having you talk and talk and they talk. But the quality of service has improved tremendously because all these things are anchored on bandwidth. So really, it's work in progress. We are working with the operators. We do publish results to see the quality of service. But then we are not saying that it's 100%, but we continue to push the boundaries for the operators to be able to provide more quality of service to the general public. You asked a very, very, very important question on the numbering scheme and whether we have the plans, whether we have plans in place to ensure that if a new entrant comes in, he can be able to have numbers. We've done a thorough research on this subject matter. Senegal, they have a population of about 18, close to 20 million. They have just 3 operators. The Gambia, we are listing 2 million operators. We have 5 players in the market, right? Looking at the number of resources which are very limited. Yes, we should have had strategies in place to foresee these things, but we have these things in place. We actually had a plan for a 9-digit numbering plan so that all the mobile operators would actually have 1 digit behind them, just like Senegal. Whether you are in Tigo, Orange, or Expresso, you start with 7 something, so the 2nd digit. So for us, that was the strategy we are taking. We consulted the industry, but then the main challenge on why this thing has not yet been realized is that each operator has to cover money to the tune of, let's say, $10 million to have systems in place so that you can be able to manage this process. The private operators, they have the money. The incumbent operators have challenges. So really, this is what is stalling the whole process. And we cannot have a country where, let's say, Gantel, Aftercell and QCell and Commune are on 9 digits and Gantel is on 7 digits. That cannot be. It doesn't work that way. We all have to join hands together and move. So we are on this process. The plans are there, everything is there, and that's the way to go. But if there's a policy directive or a policy change that another operator has to come in by being virtual, that's virtual mobile operator that is taking number resources from operator, we have something in place. Because, for example, on the ATG numbering plan, it's virtually empty. Right? The number of subscribers on that distinct really. That's something we can just take within a minute. We can just write a numbering plan from that listing and make that those resources available. So new entrants. And the last question, I'll be very brief. You are saying that do we need to go to 5G? I think as a country, that's our way of thinking. We should limit ourselves. To say, oh, in Europe they are 5G, I think as a country, do we need to go there? Let's still stick on 2G. The whole world is moving. Even now, when we went to the national circuit, a few distance people in their provinces are saying, yes, we have 2G, so we have 3G, but we also need to go to 5G because of the speeds and experience. Today, if you buy a router from Aftercell or QCell, and they give you 2G, and give you another router of 3G, and another router of 4G, you can actually see the difference. When this technology is on, we have what we call guidelines of introducing new technology. Anytime you want to introduce We do tests with international standards, that is the ITU, International Telecommunications Union, and all these things. And it's only when we satisfy the technical standards and the user experience and all these things, that is only when we actually authorize you to deploy the technology. So people can have different perceptions, but the speeds, because even if you have a mobile phone, you buy it from Apple or anywhere, if it is 4G, if you come here, if there is no 4G, it will not show 4G on your listing. And these are universal carriers. Once it displays 4G on your network, right, PURA has authorized it, tested, definitely is compatible. But as a country, maybe one of the resolutions of this International Governance Forum would be that the Gambia should not move ahead. Let us stick to this thing. Let's not go to 4G. Let's not think of this thing. Let's stay where we are until there's 100% availability of this network countrywide before we go to the modern technology. But then the experts are here. So maybe that could be a resolution. But I don't think, my personal experience, opinion is, we shouldn't be of thinking, think big, and then doing big, and move towards that direction. I thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ponce, I think maybe someone needs to ask for Camara, because he's been patiently waiting in the US for about an hour or so, and her contribution was very, very important. And one thing I like from her presentation is that it is evident that we have an infrastructure in place that, because throughout 2020, that was a challenge for the country. Everything was online, and we were there. We were ready. It's not 100% perfect, but then we can benchmark and compare, make ourselves comparable with anyone in this operation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. And I was just about handing over to Fatu, because we all know when they call them the fourth estate, the media is very important. And last year she was here by default because they have the biggest online presence in the country. And it's always good hearing from people where they get their news from. If you look online with all the news media, including Nigeria TS, most people will reference Fatu network. So this talk about digital inclusion and everything is very important. So I'll allow her, talking from her home in Florida, to close this session with a closing remark. Fatu, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. And I would like to thank you. And of course, thank the two gentlemen. Their presentation has been very interesting. And I first actually must ask, I don't know if there are any TV stations there, because they usually are not happy when I say television would die. So we always have this argument. When I say the go-to place is online, but again, I always have my points to back that up. But on the increase of the bandwidth, I listened to the representative from PURA. Actually, we're still having a lot of problems trying to do live streaming. When we are posting stuff, it's always usually not a problem. But when it is time to do live coverages, you can see we have a lot of breaks during our live coverages. Many a times I had to call internet service providers and ask what we can do to get a whole lot of internet. That way we wouldn't have those breaks. But also the Ministry of Information did mention the increase in the number of internet users, and that is true. I remember when we started in 2016, most of the followers that we had were from the US and also England, but now 33.5% of our followers are based in Gambia. And that gives us the highest number of our followers residing in the Gambia, which is very good because that's the target here. So we definitely see that increase in the number of internet users. I just would want to say that it's a very great opportunity to be here and to talk and also learn from all of you. But I also would like to call on PURA again to look into the case of affordability. This is a big issue right now. Most of the time, I even give out data to some of our followers when they complain and say, oh, we like to watch the Fatu network, but our internet goes really fast. Some of them, I have a monthly data that I give to them for the past 6 months or something. So I think affordability would be great if they can look into that so that we can have more people access the internet. But overall, we're doing great compared to other countries in Africa. Even to make WhatsApp calls sometimes, we see how difficult it is. But to Gambia, definitely, that's how I stay in touch with my team, and we do not have any problems with that. I think the only times we have problems is when we're doing live coverage, especially with the OB van and stuff.
Thank you
Very much. I would have loved to take the questions from Mr. Loum, but what will happen tomorrow, we are starting early. So in the recap, one of our rapporteurs, either Madeline or Terry, during the recap, will remember some of the questions from Mr. Loum to start before we start tomorrow's session. And please stay online. I'm handing over now to Khadija Jawara. That's the next sub-team, which is important, accessibility and cost. So Khadija, over to you.
Thank you.
Finally, thank you, Fatu. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Land.
Thank you, everyone.